Good evening, everybody in the world, or good afternoon, or good morning, wherever you are in the world. Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Young Esteem Unit. What we're going to do today, we're going to be looking at our Young Legacy series. That's what we're going to do. And I like to think that in order to create a legacy, you need to get out of your own way. You need to get rid of all your inhibitions. And a lot of the times we can become our own worst enemy. I know this for a fact because I've been through this too. There's a word out there, the A word, the dreaded A word, which is it's called anxiety. And I've had it, and I've had the luxury of coaching so many people away from this. We have today, with our free unique training, a very special guest, and he is the anxiety specialist. I really want to show him off to you guys. I think it's so important that we get a handle of this young. Like I always say, it's better to build strong kids than to fix broken adults. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Shane. There he is, over there. Hey, bro, what's going on?
Hey, man, how you doing? Hope all is well.
Yeah, all is very well. All is good over here in the world. You are living in London.
Yeah, just in Essex, just inside M25, slightly outside London, depending on who you ask. But yeah, it's just not too far from London myself. Where are you?
I'm Rugby, so about an hour drive from London. Sorry, an hour's train ride from London.
Not too far then.
Not too far, not too far. Bit too far for a high five.
Yeah,
but not that
that'd be a virtual one.
Yeah. So I've been checking you out, buddy. I've been looking at your social media and stuff, and I do like doing that. However, what I like to do sometimes is just to detach myself away from that and check out the person by asking some just raw, real questions. And I like to be in the moment when you do answer them. So you're a very flexible guy, and you can go with the flow, and I love that about you. So for now, dude, who are you? What do you do?
So my name is Shane Harron, and I'm an anxiety specialist. I kind of fell into this. I didn't really kind of plan to ever kind of get into this, but I experienced anxiety myself. I didn't even know what anxiety was. Looking back now, I probably had it my whole life. But it got to a point in my life where I was running a business. I was kind of self-employed. I was living with my partner. She was my business partner as well. And things are just kind of getting on top of me. But to me, it was just normal stress. I thought that was what everybody experienced. And then it wasn't until kind of one day where it was just kind of sitting at home, watching TV, nothing seemed to be happening. And my heart started beating out my chest. And I had a Fitbit and it was like 120 beats per minute just sitting there. I was thinking, that's a bit weird. And then it started getting tighter and tighter. And it felt like my world was just kind of shrinking and getting more and more constricted. And I'm not a kind of like crazy kind of like, I'm not kind of like a worrying kind of person. So, typically you'd think, it'd be someone that's like, oh my God, I'm worrying all the time. Like, that's not me. But I kind of knew something wasn't quite right. I didn't think I was having a heart attack, but I definitely thought there was something wrong with my heart. So I kind of didn't want to freak out. I didn't want to kind of like make a fuss. And often people with anxiety will be like that. They'll invalidate their feelings and they will kind of not take themselves quite seriously. And they won't want to kind of get help. And I kind of and ahed, and my partner forced me to kind of call the NHS Direct. I spoke to them and they said, look, if you can get down to the hospital, go down to A&E, get yourself checked out. They rushed me down there, done all the tests, done all the ECGs, all the heart scans, all the blood tests. And long story short, they said, look, your heart's absolutely fine. We think it's anxiety. You think it's like you had a panic attack. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, I wasn't panicking. Like, I didn't think I could be somebody that had anxiety. I thought you had to be a kind of person, right? I didn't think it could be me because we never do, right? And then they said, like, for most people, it is like, like when you see like a duck floating along a lake and it all seems really smooth and calm, but underneath the surface the duck might be going absolutely sort of crazy. And he said sometimes that's what anxiety is like. On the outside appearances, it may seem like we're calm, we've got things together, they seem like they've got their life sorted out, but on the inside, that's what makes a difference. When we're kind of stressing out on the inside, how we're dealing with our feelings, how we're dealing with our emotions, that's what anxiety is all about. This led me to, it took me about 3 months before I could take my courage to go to see a doctor because, a bit of male pride, a bit of ego, kind of felt that, didn't want to believe that there was something wrong with me. I thought, am I going crazy kind of thing? Went to doctors and they wasn't really much help. They literally kind of just said, look, you've got an anxiety disorder, take these antidepressants and see in 6 months' time. And I was like, is this it? Was this literally as much information you're going to give me? Like, is this it now? Is this my life? And they're just stressed out themselves. They're probably anxious themselves, right? Because they only have about 8 minutes per patient. They're super stressed out. They're super overworked and things, So I totally get it. But the system was broken. I refused them. Like growing up, I see my mom on antidepressants. I knew that they didn't really help her. So I didn't really have much faith in them. This led me down a path of kind of reading every book I could find about anxiety, a lot of them conflicting, a lot of them confusing, and it kind of helped, but it didn't really change anything. And then one day, a friend of mine, he was just chilling out, and he was studying a hypnotherapy and psychotherapy course at the time, and we were just playing around with some stuff. But I noticed a state change. I noticed myself just internally shift. I felt something just change, right? I was like, this is interesting. So it kind of led me to kind of sign up for a few hypnotherapy courses. That led me down a path of actually sort of doing hypnotherapy, doing other courses. I started working with clients, and I eventually started working with anxiety clients, and I felt a lot better. I did make some progress, but I started working with some anxiety and trauma clients where they'd come to me with an issue, and I'd be like, oh my God, I've got that problem. I didn't even think it was a problem. So I really kind of reflected on myself and realized that actually I probably had anxiety a lot worse than I thought I did. And then eventually kind of started understanding trauma therapy, how the nervous system worked, and learning the kind of psychosensory techniques that I use now. And then I just created a process, or refined a process from working with hundreds of anxiety clients and essentially just figuring out what works. I wasn't the kind of person where, you see a lot of people out there with a lot of ego where they do a certain qualification, become a, say, for example, a hypnotherapist, and then they believe that hypnotherapy is the best and the end all and be all. Versus, I've done so many different things now that if anything else worked, I would just do what worked. I don't really care what it is that I do. So I've essentially just created a system and a process of just what I've kind of experienced myself, what my clients have experienced, what has worked, what hasn't worked, and refined it to the point where I was working with clients and I was doing all of the work myself. So I was helping regulate their nervous system. I was essentially helping calm down their body and their nervous system state and process the trauma for them. But then it didn't teach them the skills and tools how to do it themselves. So they'd come back 3 months later, called me up saying, oh, Shane, the anxiety's come back and I don't know what to do. And even though that'd be a great business model, I didn't really feel like I was helping them the best way I could. So I've now changed everything to where the whole thing is about teaching the client how to take care of themselves. So I teach I make it as basic and as simple as possible that anybody can do, that you can learn very, very easily. So hopefully I'll be able to kind of share some of these tools with you guys and anyone that's watching this, how you can just basically regulate your nervous system and stop the anxiety in its tracks, because then it's just about kind of being able to have control of yourself. But this is kind of like where I've got to today. Now I've kind of made a bit of a career to it just because I just found out I was very good at it. And yeah, it's amazing now being able to help people. So I'm really glad that I say to people now that having anxiety was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me, which doesn't really quite seem it at the time. But, once you kind of work for your stuff, you become more of your true self. You become more of your authentic self. You become more at peace with yourself. You become more comfortable with yourself. You understand yourself a lot better, because a lot of it is about education. A lot about it is exploring yourself and getting to know yourself a little bit better, and especially with kids now, like they're finding themselves and they're just figuring out themselves. So they need that help. Like if you can kind of figure it out now, you're going to be a lot easier than kind of waiting 10, 20 years down the line where adults then have to come see me, right? So we're trying to just, as I'm sure you are, you're making a huge difference now before people get to the problem stage. So hopefully this kind of answers questions.
You did. You and it's eloquently put as well. I had a little analogy in my head that you're an archer. Your bow, your experience. You've got so many strings to your bow, whether it be this technique or that technique, or CBT or NLP or hypnotherapy, whatever. And it's almost you've got to fire the right arrow to the right apple.
Well, it's kind of funny you mentioned that, because we come up with the name for it in terms of seeing like the slingshot effect. Because often when we're working with people, when you're experiencing what you're experiencing today, often it's because of past experience. It's almost like you have to kind of go backwards before you can then fly yourself forwards and go, to where you want to be in life,
Yeah, I completely agree. We're getting a lot of love from people. Jack. Thank you, Jack.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Jack's cool, man.
Thank you, buddy. And this is actually from a child, actually, Kieran, who I'm almost positive will be jumping on to say hello to you. He likes to get involved and speak to you, speak to the guests. So thank you for that, Kieran. Appreciate that. And I think it's really crucial as well that you say that in regard to you went through a really tough time in your life. I don't know if it's the toughest time of your life, but that tough time needed to happen, because look at the amount of people that you've impacted. Without you going through that experience, without that worst day of your life, you wouldn't have been able to influence all these people and help so many people out. So it's the way I look at it, and I know that you look at it this way as well. It's not the worst day of your life, it's the best day of your life, because it's created this, you doing this. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's often with a lot of the work I do with clients, it's learning to reframe the story, because it's not so much what happens, it's not so much what we experience, but the meaning we apply to it, the story we make of it, you know? So when we kind of go through these experiences, sometimes we have to make mistakes to be able to learn, you know? So many mistakes that I've made in life, I've never kind of figured these out. And even with clients, I've made loads of mistakes, but I could only grow from it by learning and making those mistakes. And sometimes it's, you know, if you read the book Mindset by Carol Dweck, growth mindset thing, you know, that growth mindset is so powerful. And if you can instill that in kids today, where you can almost like look to fail and be like excited to make mistakes, because when you do, you're going to grow. And if you have that mindset, you're always going to be a better version of yourself, no matter what, right? Within enough time, you're going to you'll bypass anybody else that's scared to make mistakes because of what other people might think of you, right? But at the end of the day, everybody's going to make mistakes. It's impossible to not make mistakes, and they're not failures or anything like that. But you know, growing up now with kids, with social media and everything, you kind of seeing these things where we're kind of scared because everybody's living this perfect life on Instagram and everybody's so happy and everything, but it's rubbish. It's a load of rubbish. We're comparing like your whole outtakes, and you're the only expert on you. We compare them to people's kind of like these perfect scenarios where it's like the final cut of the film versus all the actual kind of real raw nitty gritty, right? Which is the reality of life.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. I love that analogy. You've put that really well. Why would you want to? I mean, even for a movie, if you start pick any movie that you've watched right now, at the beginning, obviously there's a protagonist, there's a main character, blah blah, and then they go through a battle, they go through their journey, pain, anguish, whatever, and at the end it's all happy families, you know, whatever. You can't just ignore this bit and just have the happy family end bit. You've almost got to endure this here. So as I know that you know, and we give the tools. I like to think of the analogy of every single kid, Shane, has got a fight coming. You know, that every single 12-year-old or 11, whatever, every kid has got a fight coming, whether they turn into a 25, there's a fight coming, 26, whatever, and there's a fight with an MMA fighter. And if you didn't train, this kid didn't train, by the time he gets to 26, whenever this fight's coming, they get in the octagon, who's gonna win? Well, obviously an MMA fighter if he doesn't train. But what if he did train, or he trained? What if they trained? What if they did cardio? What if they grappled? What if they did boxing? What if they did martial arts? What if they ate the right food? What if they listened to the coach, listened to the mentors, read, research, YouTube, and trained every single day, their mind and their body? By the time they get to a 26-year-old, who's going to win the fight now? Well, obviously the kid's got a better chance of winning, haven't they? But MMA fighter isn't called MMA fighter. It's called anxiety. It could be called depression. It could be labeled as infidelity. It could be labeled as death in the family, job loss, car crash, heart attack, cancer. We don't know that it's coming. So like you, it's so important to give these kids tools to be able to utilize this to become so powerful in their future, because they are our future minds. And I really love the way that you're framing this, dude. And it's so cool that you say, well, sometimes it's just education, sometimes it's just a reframe, sometimes it's a little bit deeper than that. So if you were to define what anxiety is to a group of 8-year-olds, what might you say?
Anxiety is essentially, if you kind of understand it as stress or your emotions when they're getting overwhelmed. So imagine you've got a scale of 0 to 10.
Yeah.
And imagine when you're at 0, you're kind of like really chilled out and you're relaxed and you're totally at ease. And 10 is being completely overwhelmed. It's a state of overwhelm. So no matter what is overwhelming you, when your nervous system, when your body is feeling overwhelmed, whether it's from your stress, from your emotions, from, you know, your current thing that's going on or thing that's happened from the past, it's overwhelmed. It's literally overactivation of your nervous system. Your nervous system is just kind of doing too much, right? So if I was saying to an 8-year-old, I'll be saying, look, when you just feel a bit overwhelmed or you feel too uncomfortable, you feel like you can't cope, that is anxiety. And, anxiety or, trauma is a fact of life. We're going to experience these overwhelming experiences, but we need to become resilient by learning how to bounce back, because we can't stop these bad experiences from happening. I wish I could. I wish we could kind of wave magic wand and nobody would ever experience anything bad in life, but it's not the reality of the situation. We're going to face these kind of hardships. We're going to face hard things in life. So we may as well kind of prepare ourselves how to kind of bounce back and create some resilience from that, but that's kind of my emphasis with things.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, it's true. We do have to create resilience. It's the giant oak versus the reed, which is the strongest. A lot of people think the oak is the strongest, but in a high wind, the oak will snap and fall. In a reed, the high wind will just just flow back again. That's look at Chinese buildings where their infrastructure is very flexible because it needs to be resilient to bounce back. Otherwise, it will fall over because of the amount of earthquakes. Yeah. So you went through what you went through, and it sounds like a bit of a tough journey in regard to you did get help, then you didn't get help, then you had to understand it yourself. I think, and I know that you know this, that the very fact that you had to figure out yourself was the best thing, because it's kind of like been locked in there now and you've got more of a passion towards it, I guess. So it sounds to me like this panic attack, it just came out of nowhere. And it is scary because after I've spoken to people, and when I went through, it feels like you're dying. It feels just like I'm going to die. I remember when my brother had one, and I was so scared. I held it together, just held it together. Family didn't know what was going on, but he's absolutely fine. So let's go from the very beginning. What tools might you offer to children, I say, to give them the awareness or the bounce back or the fight against anxiety, if you have any, or if they work? Because I know you work with adults, so I really appreciate your flexibility as well, dude.
Well, essentially, it's anything to regulate your nervous system. So the two easiest, or my two kind of favorite ways, is one we call yoga breathing, which is everybody breathes. Breathing is it's controlled by your nervous system, so it typically happens without any thought. So it just happens. We don't have to think about it. But it's the only thing that we can control which changes our autonomic nervous system. So our autonomic nervous system changes our heart rate, it changes how much we sweat, all these other different things, changes our hormones. Now, we can't think about our hormones and then change them. We can't just think about our heart rate and change them, but we can control our breath. And controlling your breath is going to be the easiest and fastest way whenever you're kind of stressed, because everybody does it. And everybody knows how to breathe at the beginning. So when you're born and you're a baby, you'll see kind of babies kind of breathing deep into their belly. They'll kind of expand their belly, and they'll slowly let it go, and there'll be a pause between breaths. Now that's a natural rested state. But when we go through life and become stressed, our breathing changes. Because say, for example, if we're going for like a run, if we're going to go run, we'd kind of be short, shallow breathing in our chest. We'd kind of be breathing really, really fast because we're trying to oxygenate the body to try to, provide us with enough energy to deal with whatever we need to. And when we're stressed, because our bodies haven't really evolved in hundreds of thousands of years from our caveman days, when we are stressed, even though our stress nowadays is because of, it's not because of a predator, it's not because of something else, our body still responds in the same way. So with yoga breathing, the goal is you want to slow down the rate of breathing, and you want to increase the ratio of the inhale to exhale. So you want to extend the exhale. So an easy way to do this is, if you're ever stressed, you panic, always close your mouth, breathe through your nose. So imagine you'd be like this, you'd kind of be really panicking, you'd be breathing really fast like this. First, close your mouth, breathe through your nose. And after you breathe through your nose, what you can also do is close your right nostril. I know it's reversed on this camera, but close your right nostril, breathe through your left, hand on your belly, and we're going to breathe into your belly. So when you breathe into your belly, you want your hands on your belly to expand. So Darryl, if you put your hand on your belly, I don't know if you've got your hand on it, that's it. And as you breathe in, I want your hand to move. So breathe in for your nose, belly goes out, and then slowly let it go. Breathe in for your nose, Belly expands and slowly let it go. Now, if you're having a panic attack, you want to slow it down. You can slow it down by, imagine you're closing it with your thumb, your right nostril, and then slowly, like if you just kind of like letting air out a balloon.
Yes.
So if you blew a bit out and you just slowly opening it up. So try that now. So thumb on your right nostril, and you're going to slowly open up with the other hand. So take a nice deep breath into your belly, and then slowly let the air out. And you see you can slow it down, right?
That's really cool, because some people struggle with letting it out so fast, don't they?
Yeah, because I used to do the same thing. You know, when you read that 4 to 7 or 4 to 8 breathing, and you're like, you go breathe out for 8 seconds, you're like, ah. You're like, what do you mean 8 seconds? It's gone already. Like, I find it hard too, right? So you can either do it with your nose like that, or even just a small opening of your mouth. So you can also do it like this. And you see how easy it was to slow that breath down? Yeah. Do 5 of those in a row.
Yeah.
3 more. Two more. Last one. Now just relax your breath and just notice how different you feel in your body. You notice your body feels a bit calmer. You notice your thoughts will slow down. So anytime your thoughts are kind of racing, anytime you're feeling a bit kind of just really kind of anxious and your mind's going 100 miles an hour, just think you need to put on the brakes. You need to slow down. And we slow down by extending the exhale. So when we inhale, it's like putting on the foot on the accelerator. When we exhale, it's like putting on the brakes. And we only put on the, in between after you exhale, between that and taking the in breath, you're still in your parasympathetic nervous system, you're still in the brakes. Yeah. So it's a really quick and easy way to kind of just slow your nervous system down. It's the fastest way to do it. The other thing I like doing is a psychosensory technique called havening, but essentially it kind of uses touch, where you'd be kind of like rubbing your body like this. And imagine you essentially just think of yourself as self-soothing. So if you imagine you just kind of rubbing this up and down, and it feels very kind of calming anyway. So the idea or the premise behind it is that touch is very healing, it's very therapeutic. We all need to be held. So imagine that, most of the time in life, when we're feeling a certain way or feeling really emotional, one of the easiest and fastest ways to fix that is not that we need a solution in that moment, but we need nurturing. So often people think that trauma has to be something bad that happens to us, but it's often what doesn't happen to us after the experience. So we don't get regulated. So we can regulate ourselves by kind of doing this. We can kind of sit with ourselves and notice where we feel, what we feel in the body, and just sit here with the feeling and just comfort ourselves and relax into it. So imagine you just kind of relaxing your body, just noticing where you feel any tension. And then you can combine this with the breathing as well. You can kind of slow down your breathing if you want to. But this feels very therapeutic. So it doesn't matter how old you are, we still need to be held. And often, imagine if you go through an experience in life or you're kind of feeling a bit stressful, if somebody that told you and grabbed you in that moment, just gave you a big hug and said, you know what, no matter what you're feeling right now, it's completely normal. Everything's going to be okay. Right? If they was hugging you and they just told you that, most of the time you'd go, okay. Because that's what we need to kind of like know. We need to know that we're going to be okay. So doing the, just kind of doing this, it will be kind of really calming you down. So those would be the two kind of things that I would get people to practice. So if you are feeling stressed, just regulate yourself. I mean, there's a lot of science behind it. In a lot of neuroscience, so it creates these delta waves. These delta waves are the brain waves that your brain produces in like the deepest level of sleep. So essentially what you're doing is you're sending a signal to your body that we are safe, we are okay. Because anxiety is just your body saying, oh my God, we're not okay. We need to kind of go into fight or flight and get ourselves out of there. So instead, often sometimes it is a kind of false alarm. It's not anything in danger in the moment. That's kind of like real life fear. Often it's just kind of either experiences from the past that it's reminding us, or when we're kind of stressing about the future, we need to bring ourselves to the present. So even that just touch, that therapeutic touch, we've been noticing that skin on skin contact, it just brings us into the present, it calms our body down, and makes us feel safe. So it's a great way for anyone to kind of do that. If anybody does practice it, I guarantee you're going to build some resilience, even if you just do that for 5-10 minutes a day without even thinking about anything.
That's epic. That's so cool. By the way, there's a really amazing girl on here that's absolutely leveled up so much. She didn't. I remember when we first kind of met. I spoke in her school as a speaker, and she's 18, and she didn't want to be known on social media. She didn't want me to name her, mention her. Now she's got no inhibitions for it. So Megan, hi Megan. Megan's just wrote this as well, which is super cool. So she had a panic attack earlier, and to control her breathing, and she was fine after this. So that really helps. Megan, can you write this down, please, Shane? What was that technique called?
It's called havening. I mean, the way that havening is done, they do it a different way, but essentially it's using touch. It's therapeutic touch. The face has a lot of neurons as well. So we have so many different neurons on our face. So sometimes if you're stressed and you see kind of films and stuff, someone's upset, they'll do this. We naturally do this. So when we're upset, we start crying. We know instinctively to do this. This is like innate knowledge. This is innate knowledge that we've kind of known for thousands of years. It's in our DNA, but we've just forgotten. So if you're feeling kind of stressed, you can just kind of do this, or if somebody else is doing it for you, it feels kind of very kind of calming, relaxing. You can use your face, you can use your arms, you can use your palms, or you can even kind of rub your hands on your legs or something like that. It's grounding, but it's also going to create kind of delta waves, kind of slow your body down. Just create an anchor to safety, remind your body that you're safe. So so Mary's just said that a 17-year-old son tends to do this quite a lot. So brains must be really clever, knowing it subconsciously. So it's exactly this. Like, I do feel like this is innate knowledge, but we just haven't been taught this. Haven't been reminded. So essentially, this is probably things that I always say to people, that we're not, all the experiences that we have, the emotions we have, the fears we have, how our body responds isn't new. So we don't need any kind of new therapies or new kind of tools or anything. What we have to resolve it, we all have that ability within ourselves. So this is why, when I'm working with clients, and typically when I work with someone one-to-one, it's a 4-week program where I'm going to get them to stand on their own 2 feet, and I'm going to teach them how they can do this themselves. Because sometimes the therapeutic model is kind of like they need somebody else's help. Sometimes I can hold people back, by teaching them kind of really simple tools and things that they can do themselves. It makes them realize, wow, actually I can do this. I can make myself feel better. And then they become empowered,
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, Mary, thank you, Stan. I really appreciate it, Mary. Thank you very much. That's a good one as well, being patient. And I'm glad Mary raised this point, because sometimes at night time when I can't sleep, it's very odd. But I stretch my arms up. I've never told anyone this before, because I feel like I didn't need to. It's just my little thing, It's nothing weird. I'm laying flat on my bed and I pull my arms up like this, and I just like tickle or stroke the back of my arms just here, and it's really soothing, dude. And that must be what unconsciously what I'm doing to soothe me.
Well, if anyone can't sleep, it's your body is in that sympathetic activation. So it's the doing system. So when we're kind of doing system, we're thinking, that's our body's in mobilization. We want to be in our parasympathetic system. We want to be in rest and digest. So before bed at night, if you literally kind of done that breathing thing, so remember we kind of slow down the breathing with the exhale. If you've done that for like literally 10 breaths and you've done this at the same time, I guarantee you, your body would just kind of just naturally be ready to fall asleep.
Yeah, that's super cool. That's super cool. So I love the way that you've mentioned, and I know these kids on here will be able to understand this, because children are far cleverer than us adults. You've got the parasympathetic system and you've got the sympathetic system. So that I believe that what I've read, sympathetic system is breathing high in the chest. It's increased heart rate. It's go for a run. Happens when we're stressed. Parasympathetic is lower abdominal breathing, slower breathing, controlled breathing, and it's what we do to calm down. So there's who's seen this as well. I love the fact that you mentioned that, because some people do this, don't they? They go, oh, and they rub just there, which is rubbing the ocular nerve, which has got an attachment to the vagus nerve, which has got an attachment to the organs, which really slows everything down. And the vagus nerve, when it's stimulated, that is what activates the parasympathetic system. Kids, sorry if that's a bit too much information, but you can watch this one back. So I think it's really amazing what we unconsciously do. And I want to really highlight this point as well, because I did the same thing. It's like, as a man, I don't know why a man, and women probably do it as well, but as a man, it's, for me, and it's not my parents that did this. This is me and what I watched on TV. This is not my own doing. I'm a man, I can't cry. I'm a man, no, I'm not. I haven't got anxiety. I don't get stressed. I haven't got depression. No, I don't do that. When actually, you're more of a man to admit it, as opposed to reject it, because the more you reject it, the more it's going to build, the more the anxiety is going to build, and the more boom, it's going to be at the end of it. So I love the way that you've said, have the ambitions. It's just, you just become one with it, don't reject it, and kind of like understand it and respect yourself enough to go through.
Well, it takes courage to admit how you feel, right? It's because it's really uncomfortable. Nobody wants to kind of, because it's to be responded with a negative impact. It's even in terms of invalidating. Because I used to do the same thing. I didn't really kind of know what I was doing. I would kind of speak to my younger kind of nephews, and they'd be upset. And this was about sort of 8, 9 years old, and I'm like, "Oh, come on, big boys don't cry." And I didn't mean any bad intention, but in that kind of state, I was essentially saying, "Come on, men don't cry," which it's not true at all. And even when people are upset, we do it well intended. We go, "Oh, come on, it's okay. There's no need to cry. Come on, cheer up." We want someone to be happy, but at the same time, we need to realize that all of our feelings are completely normal. It is completely 100% normal to feel any of your feelings. We kind of think that there's good feelings and bad feelings, but the reality is we have feelings. We're human beings that have feelings, and it's okay to feel what you feel sometimes. But no feeling is permanent, and no emotion will ever last longer than 90 seconds. So if I got you to think about your favorite memory in the world, you'd feel amazing, you'd feel great, and then within 90 seconds, if we didn't think about it, it would pass. So the idea is that if you're feeling a certain way, sometimes it's because you're kind of telling yourself a story. So imagine, say, for example, like, how old are the kids? Do the kids normally have social media things that you speak to?
Yeah. So these guys use their parents' accounts. So we've got some we've got 10-year-olds to 12-year-olds that will be watching this as well as adults.
So, I mean, even for adults to sort of see with their kids, like, sometimes we'll create a story in their head, right? So imagine if, you send out a message to somebody and you see that they've read it, but they've not replied to you, but then you see them on other accounts or other social media things, and they're posting things. We might sit there and go, "Oh my God, they don't like us because they're not responding to me, or they're ignoring me." And we create a story in our head. Now, if we just kind of took a step back and go, "Am I telling myself a story right now? Is this 100% true?" We'd be able to go, "Oh, probably not," because we all do this. We all tell ourselves stories all the time. And we get caught up in our stories and we don't realize that we're doing it. And sometimes it just kind of needs that communication, and learn how to actually kind of communicate and realize when we're kind of just not being, 100% factual about it. So just taking a step back and taking a breath and just thinking, am I telling myself a bit of a story? Because we always do.
Yeah. And it's a defense story as well, isn't it, really? Sometimes we make that story up inside of our head. We'll look out for danger, because when we're hunting and gatherers, that's when we've got to be more aware of danger, because if we're not, then, that could kill us. But if we think of the good things, that's not going to kill us. We are going to survive still, but the things that could kill us are going to kill us. So we've got to focus on that, and therefore it's only for our survival. But that's like a million-year-old brain that we need to just get out of the way. Dude, what I would love to do now, if you're okay with it, actually, Shane, is I'm going to ask 2 kiddos to come on, and I'm hoping they've got some questions lined up for you. We've come up with their power names. So we've got Darth Maul and the Shadower. But
Perfect.
Called Lily, and Darth Maul is actually Kieran. So Lily, hello there.
Hello.
Hey, Lily.
I haven't actually been able to do one of these recently because I've been at school.
You have been at school. Yeah, so Lily's just returned to school, Shane. So this is a very ideal topic, because who knows what she's gone through. In fact, Kieran, I've just muted you for a second. It's a bit noisy, but hello, Kieran. I'm gonna let you can say hello if you want to, Kieran. That's very rude of me. And Ewan, get Ewan in. He's not allowed. He's allowed in. So Lily, would it be really cool if, in a small sentence, I don't know how you felt returning for your first day of school, but were you slightly nervous?
I was nervous because we've sorted into bubbles, and my best friend in my entire class wasn't in my bubble, so I was like, how am I going to talk to her? And I was panicking a little bit, but I thought, you know what? I'm with people I know, I'm with people I like. I'm not with people that I'm not that close to. Like, I mean, it's good, like, because I'm getting to be with new people, because I'd only like talk to one of one of the people in my bubble on a regular basis. So I'm limited to basically 7 people who I can talk to. So it's a good experience when I was actually in there, but on my way there, I was quite nervous.
Cool. I hear you. Yeah, and I think Shane would agree with me on this one. Actually, no matter how many people are in your bubble, you've said 7, but I'm sure there's more than. And in fact, I know there's more than 7 because you can speak. You're only going to speak to 7, but that's your choice. It's your choice whether or not you want to speak to those people, and it's a chance to build new relationships with people. Because I think when you form a new relationship with somebody else, you actually form a new part and a new relationship with yourself. What do you think to that, Shane?
Yeah, I think she done amazing. She saw it as an opportunity rather than as a setback. And if you can have that kind of growth mindset with whenever you kind of get stuck in life or you kind of face an obstacle, just think, oh, how can I grow from this? What can I learn from this, or gain some experience? And she's done amazing. For her to kind of look at that age. I wish I could say the same. I could do the same myself, or teach my adult clients to do the same, right?
Exactly. Lily, did you have any questions for Shane?
How old were you when you had your first panic attack?
It wasn't until I was an adult. It wasn't until maybe about 5 years ago. So I was about sort of 28. But growing up, I kind of didn't ever feel comfortable. I didn't really come speak to anyone. Didn't really have many friends at school. I remember sort of sometimes even in high school, I would kind of go to the library at lunchtime just to kind of just read comic books and just hide away from people because I was trying to avoid people because I felt uncomfortable. So I think I had anxiety for a long time, but it was so normal to me. I thought it was just a normal part of life. I didn't really know any different.
Yeah. Cool. Good question, Lily. Thank you very much. Kira, do you have a question for Shane? And are you muted, by the way? Let me mute you. There we go. Oh, no, you have to mute yourself, Kira.
I don't know.
Is Ewan?
Ewan, do you have a question for Shane? Ewan's not really been listening. He's just been playing on Minecraft.
Kinda. I have kind of been listening. Sort of.
I've got a good question.
Go for it.
Okay. Did you experience anything when you were younger that made you not feel anxious at all? Or made you anxious? One of them.
I think there's loads of experiences that you don't really realize is anxiety at the moment, because it's essentially, you're going to face loads of, like when you experience something new. Do you ever, like you're at a young age now that you probably experienced new sensations, or, you have new experiences. And when you do something new and you kind of feel a bit nervous about it, that essentially is anxiety, But often when we experience and we feel safe to do those experiences, or we have somebody else around us that help us stay safe, that's how we kind of get through it a lot of the time. So, I mean, the biggest kind of thing I could sort of tell people is to just express if you feel uncomfortable, tell someone. Even if your parents, just if you feel kind of like you're not sure about something, or if you have a new feeling and you don't know how to feel about it, speak to your parents, because they would have felt it, they've experienced it before, and even if it's because of them, even if they're having a bit of an argument with you and they're having a bit of falling out, just kind of saying to them, actually, I feel a bit whatever that you feel. It really does help. It really does help to kind of get that regulation that you need from your parents.
That's really cool. Does that answer your question? Sorry, buddy. Order.
Can you repeat that, please?
Did that answer your question?
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
going to main school, it's making me feel, because next year we have because there's a junior school attached to a main school, we call it main school. So I'm going into main school next year, And basically, whenever I think about it, I'm like, oh no, this could go one of two ways. This could either go really good or it could go awfully.
So, do you want to try something? Do you want to do some magic?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, what I want you to do then is because whenever we create something in our mind, we have like a representation, and then when we create a representation, we feel a certain way about it. So, when you think like the worst case scenario, right? I want you to kind of close your eyes and think about that worst case scenario, and then listen to your body when it feels a bit awkward. When you feel that uncomfortable feeling, let me know.
Yeah, but it just does make you feel a bit uncomfortable. Yeah.
And where do you notice that uncomfortable feeling in your body?
When I get to the part where because I could forget which room my classes are in. I could lose my timetable. I could lose like my pencil case. I could lose stuff. I could
So
forget.
close your eyes. Just try it on for me. So just close your eyes and think about losing wherever you lose, and then you'll notice a certain sensation in your body. And tell me when you notice that sensation. Tell me where you notice it in your body.
I kind of feel a sensation in my heart because I know I've got my friends to help me around me.
So what I want you to do is see that image that you make, that thing that you think about.
Okay.
Yeah. I want you to hold it in your mind and do this to me. You're going to rub your hands together and then move your eyes all the way to the left, eyes all the way to the right. So keep going eyes left, eyes right. Keep thinking about that thing in your mind. Keep your head still and just keep going eyes left, eyes right. And at the same time as you're doing that, I want you to just keep thinking about losing your pencil case or losing what you was thinking about before. That's it. Keep rubbing your hands together. And at some point, that image in your mind may disappear, or the feeling may disappear. Just slow your eyes down. Keep going left and right. Just go a little bit slower. That's it. You did really, really well. Okay, and then I want you to kind of do this with your arms. And I want you to count from 20 back down to 1. So 20, 19, keep going for me.
18, 17,
That's it.
16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Perfect. Okay, now I want you to close your eyes and think about that thing again. So just think about that thing again and just tell me what you notice when you think about it now. How does it feel?
Feels calmer.
Feels calmer. Good.
Like it's not a big deal anymore. It's still there, but it's more like you feel like that positive thing like energizes, like it makes that negative thing go away.
Yeah, so you've just, you've done that yourself. So well done, Darth Maul. You've obviously used your mind, used that magic. So anytime you feel bad about something, you feel a bit uncomfortable, you can do that with your body. You can either kind of bring it to mind and kind of rub your hands together with your eyes left and right. You can kind of rub your arms when you're thinking about it. And what you're doing there is you're training your body to go, this thing you're thinking about is okay, we're safe, we're safe. So if our body feels a bit uncomfortable, it doesn't feel safe, we can make ourselves feel safe. We can almost like override the system. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, you've done really well there. So you can, every time you feel a bit uncomfortable about something, you feel a bit nervous, you can use those techniques and you can really kind of calm your nervous system down. You can even, show your friends. If you see any of your friends a bit stressed out, you can help them. You can kind of show them to rub their arms. If you see anyone feeling a bit kind of stressed or a bit kind of anxious or a bit kind of upset, it will also really help other people, so you can help other people now too.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
That was cool. Thank you, Shane. I really appreciate that. So now, Darth Maul, you can change your name to Obi-Wan Kenobi because you've now came from the dark side to the light side now. So well done.
Use
I'm
the
keeping
force.
my profile pic though because Darth Maul is the best Sith Lord ever.
I don't think it was just Discord, but we'll talk about that in another video. Guys, I'm going to hold you in the waiting room. Thank you very much for popping on just there. I really, really appreciate that. That's great, Shane. That was really, really cool. Just how cool is it that you use a very kinesthetic feel for kids? I think it's really awesome to use a lot of visual, a lot of kinesthetic as well. As you can see there, if you come on here when I had like the full Zoom, when I had all the kids on, they were very, very moving, not sitting still, looking around, everything's going in. Obviously, I know you're aware of NLP, so everything is going in their own way. But I love the way what you said. You said they need to, express themselves if they feel a bit down, a bit, to the family. And I think a child doesn't get the right to express themselves, their pain, if they're not allowed to express their fun, or they're not allowed to express who they are. When that gets subdued, then they feel like, oh, I shouldn't do this anymore. But when there's a problem, then maybe they feel, well, obviously, if I can't say, express how I'm feeling on paper, if I feel annoying or embarrassing, then I don't want to express how I'm feeling right now, which is like the opposite of what we want to do. So I think that is a good key and a good block, what you said just there, a good key and a good block toward fighting against anxiety.
Yeah, because it's when we suppress ourselves, so we don't feel comfortable to share, or we don't feel comfortable to express. But sometimes our parents don't understand, but it's never because of it's not often a negative intention. So often parents are just dealing with their own stuff, because growing up we kind of feel like, oh, maybe they don't care, and we kind of feel angry at them, things like this. But often it's because our parents' emotions are coming up with themselves, or they're stressed about something else, or we feel like we're not getting the nurturing or the time that we need. But if we kind of expressed it, I'm sure any parent, especially any parents that are watching this, if any child of any parent watching this said to them, I've had this feeling and I don't know what to do, I feel kind of upset, or I feel a bit overwhelmed, a parent would then obviously take care of the child and help regulate them in that moment. They'd give them a hug, they'd give them a cuddle, they'd give them a kiss, whatever. All of those things, they're signaling, and that attention, that face-to-face contact, it's saying that I'm okay, you're okay, we're safe. And often even the same things that I've used today, if a parent uses that, that's one of the easiest things that you can do to regulate a child. I get many clients that, or many people message me saying about their anxious kid, what can they do? And the answer is always, if I see them, I'm going to have to see you as well. Because if you can stay regulated, and you can stay your calm, regulated, nurturing self, the nervous system of the child will match you, and you'll be able to co-regulate. But when you're activating and you're stressed all the time and you're kind of like this, it will send a signal to the child that the child is not safe. Same way that if we was in the same room, if I heard like a gunshot outside and my body went into like a state of shock, or a state of that kind of overwhelm state, that activation, you might not have heard it. But if your body sensed that my body was a bit unsafe, you would start to feel unsafe too. So it's learning how to kind of regulate ourselves, and then we can co-regulate and help other people, because then we can be a safe anchor for the child,
That's so true, because how often, or have you ever experienced this, when you go into someone's house, or if you come into my house and and let's pretend we've known each other for 10 years, and I'm sitting down watching TV or doing whatever, and you're standing up over me with a contemplation thought on your face, I'll be like, bro, you're going to sit down, you're making me feel uneasy.
Or if you think about sort of in kids' terms, there's probably some teachers that they feel very safe with, they love. If they have any problems, they feel completely comfortable to go and speak to their favorite teacher. But there may be some teachers where they'd be like, oh, I don't know, they make you feel a bit, I don't feel kind of comfortable around them, I don't feel kind of 100% safe, I kind of feel like a bit on edge. Because I remember when I went to school, there were some teachers that I loved, and I was always really comfortable around them, was really happy around them, I felt quite safe. And then there'll be other teachers where everybody sat there in silence because they was kind of scared of the teacher. I was like, oh no, we better behave because it was Mr. So-and-so, So I think, but we didn't feel kind of regulated. So even though it made us behave, we didn't feel kind of 100% safe. Yeah. And obviously a good teacher will have a balance between the two.
Yeah. Oh, there's Oswald, my plug. what I tell people, children and families, is to have like a safe room, like a safe space, like a safe environment, to help them share. And I have a share model, a share star model, live share model that I do. And I think what I'm getting a lot from this conversation is it's okay to, in fact, create a safe space, create a space safe to nurture, to express that. If that makes sense.
Well, Kevin Hart recently said in when he's a recent interview he done with Joe Rogan, and he said that he has, I can't remember what the term was, but he says like, he said a word, or it's like a phrase that his kids will say, but it basically means that I'm going to say something and I need you to not judge me. Yeah. Do you agree to not judge me? So just observe and not react emotionally. So it's a freedom to speak, or freedom to say exactly what you want to say, or without any kind of like negative kind of fear about what your parents might say in return.
Yeah, it's like card. What did he say?
I can't remember. Like, but I would kind of watch because he's so inspirational guy anyway. But the most recent interview he had with Joe Rogan, I would watch it. But it was a powerful thing, because I was like, you know what? Like, if every child had that, where they could say a certain phrase to their parents, where it meant, I don't feel comfortable saying what I might say, because I feel like I might be in trouble or might get misunderstood, and the parent would naturally react to it. Even if it's kind of saying that I've done something wrong, you know, being able to express that and then get the parents to be able to take a step back and give them what they need rather than react to it. It's powerful sort of thing. You know, if everybody could do that, it'd be so powerful. I know, obviously, from my experience growing up, if I had that, I would be using that a lot more than most people probably would have.
Yeah, 100%. And that's absolutely amazing. When I was when I left the teaching career, before I did leave, I set a refocus unit for kids that were struggling with their emotional needs. And a lot of that was discussing about anxiety and depression and mental health and confidence, and the things that I thought were necessary more so than getting a B in maths or whatever it may be. And I think I'm not sure you've probably seen from the same hymn sheet, but how important do you think it is, or would be, for schools to maybe get anxiety training, so if they have an awareness of it, they can actually have an appreciation and a respect for it, so when a child does come to them, they can see the signs. I know there's a mental health first aid thing going on. I've done that. It's okay. It's ticked a few boxes, let's say, but it's not very pinpointed.
No, it's not very kind of social focused. I would say it's as important as learning your ABCs and your 1, 2, 3s. You know, we're emotional human beings. We need to have emotional intelligence. So what is used is all this intelligence where we can remember things, but we don't know how to actually be within ourselves. You know, if we don't know how to actually be comfortable in our skin, in our own bodies, you know, we can't be human beings anymore, you know, because we feel too uncomfortable to. So it really does need to kind of be built in from the ground up. I often say to my clients, like, what I teach you is very simple, you know, just as we saw how, you know, with Darth Maul being able to feel better about something in minutes. You know, it wasn't anything complicated we done. It wasn't anything he had to kind of learn. But these are things that, you know, they should have been drilled into us when we was in nursery, when we was in school. You know, if you feel uncomfortable, this is how you calm yourself down. This is how you regulate your nervous system. If you feel a certain feeling, this is how you actually go inwards and explore yourself. This is how you actually kind of express yourself. If we did that, we wouldn't have any mental health issues, because all mental health issues is a dysregulation of the nervous state, and it's more about your emotional health rather than your mental health. So a lot of times people think about mental health, and sometimes mental health has a negative kind of connotation to it. Even the word mental, like going a bit mental sort of things. I know sort of there's a lot of negative conditioning with that. But if I said to you, how emotionally healthy do you think you are? How emotionally expressive are you? How comfortable do you feel with your emotions? Most people go, no, actually, there's a lot of things missing there, or there's kind of like things that aren't quite as they should be. Versus if I say, you know, what's your mental health like? Most people are like, oh, I'm fine, right? It's a very kind of defensive kind of situation it puts people in. Yeah. But most people understand that maybe they're not very emotionally expressive. But regardless of, you know, when you're between sort of 0 and 8, it's when you're in your kind of like a sponge years where you're learning how to be a human essentially and how to be an adult. We learn from our parents. So most of the time, you know, with adult clients I ask them often, you know, how are your parents growing up, like with their emotions? How are how did they deal with stress? Because you don't realize it, but we will emulate our parents subconsciously without even knowing about it, without even realizing what we're doing.
Well, yeah, we have to, don't we? Because that, like you said, it's the imprint phase from 0 to 7, worked by Dr. Bruce Lipton. and he was saying that our brains going through a state of theta brainwaves, where we're sponge and we have to absorb all this information. Why? To survive. Not
We're literally in trance. We're literally in hypnosis up to about the age of 8.
Well, that's what he says. We're in a state of like hypnosis, so it all flows in. And afterwards, it's like done. There's a Corinthians quote that says, "Give me a boy."
Show me a boy is 8 years old, and I'll show you the man. Yeah.
Man. And it's just like, wow, that's so powerful, so powerful. So like those years are so vital. And unfortunately, I don't like to put a label on it, but this is Dr. Bruce Lipton's work. Over 70% of what we teach our children, unconsciously and consciously, is negative, sabotaging, and limiting. Which may think, oh gosh, oh my word, goodness me. But it just shows you how crucial that age is, and how important it is to get in there and just like really enforce that. And I love the way you said that about your mental health. In fact, I think mental health should just be called health. It's just like me. If I said to you, Shane, oh Shane, I broke my arm. That's nothing. I don't have any connection to that whatsoever. However, I said to you, Shane, I'm depressed. It has a completely different back look, and it shouldn't be. And that's something that I know that you're fighting for and I'm fighting for. The more we talk about it, the more it becomes normalized, and that we rip the stigma away from it, and we can actually help and nurture the growth of so many more kids in this planet, and adults too. So I like the way you put that, dude. Okay, cool. So last question. What would you say? So I think you've said a lot actually, but what if you were to teleport back in your past and you were to meet your 11-year-old self, and he saw you? A, 2 questions. Would he see you as a role model? And B, what would you say to help him impact the world?
I think I hope he'd see me as a role model. I think I would probably wouldn't expect myself to be where I'm at. But the number one piece of advice I could sort of give to him is be yourself. Like, do not be scared to be you. Do not be scared to be disliked. A lot of people won't like you, but if you're yourself, you find the people that will love you.
Yeah.
And we're so scared to be ourselves. We suppress ourselves. We want to fit in. And when we're kids, it's the herd mentality. We fit in, stay safe. But the more expressive you are, the more you can be yourself. That is the way you sort of will truly win, no matter who you are, right? Because the more you're comfortable with your skin, the only person that you need to validate or get validation from is going to be yourself. And they're the people that, aren't scared to fail. They're not scared what other people think of them. So just essentially, if I'd say to my 11-year-old self, I'd be like, you know what? It's okay to be you. It's okay to be you. It's okay for other people to not like you. You don't need everybody to like you in the world. It's okay that you don't have to be everyone's favorite flavor or cup of tea. It's absolutely okay to just be yourself and do what's right for you. If I learned that, I'd probably be a little bit further ahead, but you have to make these mistakes, right? You have to learn from them and be able to get to where you are.
Could not agree more. Absolutely correct. Yeah, that was awesome. Be yourself. Be yourself. Yeah, just be comfortable who you are. Be your authentic self. Dude, I really appreciate you allowing me to steal a pocket of your Tuesday. So thank you very much for that, buddy. I know you're very
welcome.
I know you're a very active guy, and hopefully we can do something in the future in regard to Instagram. There's a bit of a problem there, but that's fine. I think this works out really well. Just want to say thank you to every single person watching and our little questioners just there. And thank you everyone that left a comment. So before we do go though, Shane, where can people find you?
If you, I don't know if you can sort of click on this, but shor.by, shore.by/anxiety. All my links are on there. So shor.by/anxiety. I'm sure that you could probably add it to my comments or something at some point. So if anybody has any questions or anything, I'm more than happy to, just have a chat with you. If you just want a question answered, more happy to do that. Or if you want to sort of discuss things further, if you want to just talk about what you can do, if you want to learn a bit more, the links are on there. You can find me mostly on Instagram, Anxiety Specialist, but typically everything has got to be on that kind of the link page. So shor.by/anxiety.
SHOR. What was that, buddy?
.by/anxiety.
/anxiety. I'm getting anxiety, spelling under pressure, dyslexic. I think that's the one just there. Hopefully that'll work.
That's it.
Brilliant. If not everybody, then you can. You just got to change permission to reach out to him. So I really appreciate that. I know everyone on the call appreciate that as well, buddy. And thank you for your time again, my man. It's been so cool. I love how relaxed and chill this conversation was. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Take care, everybody.